Greetings everybody and welcome back to Building with Fret. This is episode number 5 and it's a new day out in the world here. I am in my little starter house. Oop. There we go. And today we are going to be heading out into the world here and we are going to be building a sawmill, which I am very excited about, and we needed it to be daytime, of course, to do any building. It makes it a lot easier to be able to see and everything. So I'm going to show you where it is in relation to everything else. We're going to dive right on in today, straight away. Got a lot to do, so let's go ahead and go over this way. It's going to be pretty close to where that... Ow. How did I take damage on that? I gotta clear some trees out of here. I don't know. It's dangerous path, apparently, over here. It is right over here that our spot is going to be, near this waterfall. I've got a marker here, of course, the forestry settlement. So you could just about make out over there, if I stand maybe up a block or two, you just about make out the house over there. The spot we're going to be building is right in this area, right here. So, we've got this cool little waterfall here. There is a cave down there. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do about. What I have gone ahead and done already is I have built a little spot here, which has all of the items I think we're going to need. Since the last episode, I've cut down a lot of wood. So we've got plenty of that. I brought some wool over here, some cobble, my gravel, a little bit of iron, some smooth stone if I need it, some glass, mossy cobble, and I've got a bunch of dirt as well for terraforming. I also went mining again, and with that, I got, I think, 12 or 15 new diamonds. I've also worked on the hostile mob farm a little bit. I've added, I think, 3 or 4 more floors to the hostile mob farm since last time. So we're getting there on that project as well. Now, I wanted to kind of share my idea with you a little bit here first, and we're going to talk about how I'm going to put this together. So I got quite inspired by this little waterfall here, and I thought this was a cool little place for building a sawmill. The other thing that kind of inspired me was there's a lot of trees around, which is pretty interesting. What we have here is we have a fairly open flat spot right around here if I, fill in the caves and things, which I'm probably going to. And we can build the sawmill on top of this. But what I would like to do is have the sawmill itself be water powered, in theory anyway. So the first step to all this, I think, is going to be to create a way for this water to flow, and I think I want it to flow over this direction a little bit. I know it's not the path of least resistance or anything, but I'd like it to flow this way. I'll probably have to cut down some of these trees, and then kind of flow down here, roughly, to where this cave is. Go through that, and then in a straight line, kind of in the path of least resistance over here, to the water in this little lake. So, I'm going to have to do a little bit of terraforming to start with, I think. I brought some TNT along to help us with that. So I thought we could do that. Now, TNT will only really be able to help us get started. We're probably going to have to do a lot of shaping of the land in order to actually make this work well. So the water source is right there. I'm also probably going to expand that a little bit more into a bit of a cave, and I'm probably going to carve the mountain around a little bit, or shape it some, so that, it's a little bit more nicer than this is. But anyway, we want to start by marking out kind of a path that we want to go, or we want the water to go. Let's, I've only got the one axe, which might be a problem. Let's start by cutting down these trees a little bit here. I could lay it out with like cobble or dirt or planks or something, Probably dirt's going to be a bit hard to see. Cobble wastes my pickaxe, so planks it is. Let's see. Yeah, I want to kind of go, like, maybe right here. And maybe kind of along this. Maybe we could turn this into, like, a little mini cliff or something. I'm not sure. But I know I want to roughly go this way. And maybe, like, down here. Around here. I have to cut these trees down again. Here are a few skeletons. There is not a dungeon down there because there is not dungeons in this terrain. Definitely no, it's not that. Okay. Yeah, then I like to kind of maybe curve a little bit and go this way. Still kind of curving a little bit and go this way. This way. We're kind of straightening out a little bit now. Like up to here. And then kind of like around here. Up to this point. And we might tuck in a little bit. Ran out of planks. I guess one extra cobble is not going to hurt. And then maybe we meet with the water shore around that point. Around here. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to fill this bit in yet. I haven't quite figured that out. But that's the rough path I want to take. I'm going to lay down some TNT and set that off and see what kind of space we get from that. And then we'll probably have to shape it a little bit by hand. And if I've got any little tips or whatever, I will share them as I go here with this. Now, with TNT, I don't quite know what kind of space, necessarily, the TNT is really going to generate for us. I'm a bit unsure about that. So, I'm just going to sort of loosely place them, I think. I'm not going to go too crazy or anything here with the TNT. It's one of those things that if you get it wrong, it just ends up making a mess, so, and it could be very hard to put right. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. So I'm not going to go crazy with it. Probably not even going to go all the way there either. Now, let's just see what happens with this. Alright, let's just see what that does, just on its own. Okay. Might need a bit more to go a little bit deeper than that. We'll see. Wow, it really just eviscerates the terrain, doesn't it? All this dirt here. Yeah. But I see a shape here. I see a shape that we can kind of work with. Like, there's a little bit of a cliff there coming together. This is kind of opening up a little bit. Yeah, I think there's potential here with this TNT. I know you like it when I set the TNT off, so we'll do that together. Then I'll probably do a bit of shaping of the land off camera. Oh, they were close enough, huh? To set each other off. How about that? Getting lots of extra dirt as well for terraforming, which is nice. Well, maybe not that much. And a bunch of saplings and things too. Okay, and we'll get this one. Get away, sheep! Save your life! Oh, right on the edge. Right on the edge of the blast radius. Took a little pebble to the side. Nothing too serious, but serious enough. And there's the last one. You know what? This is not half bad. This isn't a half bad shape, actually, that it's made. It needs some cleaning up and some working on, but it's pretty good, actually, as far as the shape goes. Having just sort of winged it, I didn't do, like, any preparation for this at all. And it's made a pretty decent shape that we could definitely work with. It's a little wider than I thought it was going to be, but you know what? Maybe that'll work out. Maybe we want a slightly wider river. Like this area right here is almost perfect. It just needs, you know, a little bit of shaping to it. And some water in there, and I think it'll look fantastic. And we didn't use that much TNT for that either, so that's great. Okay, so I'm going to work on shaping this a little bit, and then I'll come back, okay? Okay, so I've just spent, you know, about 30 minutes or so working on cleaning this area up a little bit here, and I wanted to share some of the techniques that I used. The first thing I did was obviously shape the terrain to kind of make a riverbed, added some dirt to kind of clean up where the TNT had blasted out. That was pretty easy to do, honestly. Just placed a few TNT like that. The shape kind of made itself. I just had to fill in some holes and things. It wasn't anything crazy. There's a big noisy cave beneath us, by the way. I'm going to have to get that lit up somehow. And then what I decided to do was all the stone that was in the base here I replaced with dirt. I know it's spread to grass now. It will revert to dirt when I put water all over it. I added some gravel and some cobble to kind of simulate sediment at the bottom of the river that might have accumulated, particularly along the edges and where it drops down a little bit. I think that was really cool. I'm just trying to think naturally about how a river might actually collect sediment. So I've added some deeper trenches in places as well. Just dug a few bits out, and I've added some of that around the edge. And I think that gives it a little bit more character. Then I added some cliffs here. Kind of already had the start of one naturally here, but I've just kind of expanded upon it a little bit. Adding in some stone that kind of shows this is being held back. Rest in peace, buddy. And I've added a few little spots here, some mossy cobble and cobble where the stones have maybe worn down through erosion at the bottom. And I kind of did that along the whole way here, added a little bit. This could probably be even improved a bit here further. I did the same thing down here. I really like this one. I feel like this struck the balance really nicely. And then I added some boulders here and there, just to kind of break up the coastline a little bit. I might add some gravel along the edges as well when the water goes in, just to kind of break up the coastline again. We'll see. Still kind of adjusting things a little bit here and there. But they're kind of the techniques I used. I tried to kind of figure out how I think the river's going to flow. I added some cliffs, I added some boulders, added some sediment in the bottom, and I think it gives this whole river area quite a lot of character. And it didn't take that long to do, even. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I think I'm just going to add a little bit more to this. Yeah, not bad. Of course, it had to be right above where all the noisy mobs are, but there we go. There's at least like 3 spiders down there, 2 zombies and a skeleton, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. You know, it's something that you could continue to play around with and experiment with. For as long as you wanted, really. Just adding little bits and things. Yeah, I think that makes that look a little bit better. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go ahead and put all the water in. In order to do that, what I'm going to have to do is, especially where there's holes in that, I'm going to have to fill that in with some other block. Probably going to use maybe planks or something. Something that's not used in the river here, so I know what to break out when I'm done. Maybe wool. Wool will probably be easier. And then I'm going to try and make this flow nicely. I've still got to kind of clear this up yet. I haven't quite figured out what I want to do with this. And there's the bit at the other end that needs tidying up. But I needed to get the water in to figure out how I'm going to do that. But that's going to be my next project, so I'll update you again when I have filled in the water here, because that's going to be quite the tedious process. You're having a good old fun time there, aren't you? Playing around in my river, Mr. Sheep. Technically, you'd be Mrs. Sheep. All sheep, I think, are female. I'm pretty sure it's a ram that's male. So, I've been working here away on this little river area. I've cleared out some space, and we'll come to that. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about is this here. So I've made a little waterfall now, out from that little water source there, all I really did was I went up here, I put down 2 or 3 blocks of TNT, and I exploded a little cave out, nothing crazy, added some torchlight to it, little pool here, and then we got this really cool river waterfall feature flowing down here. And it kind of inspired me as I was doing this to add some rocks actually in the river itself. I've seen those, particularly in streams before. There's always like little rocks and that the water's flowing around. So I did a couple of those throughout here. I think that just adds a little bit more character, a little bit more variety. I have to say, this is very nice. Then what I did is I cleared out some space here, and I was starting to plan out where I was going to put the sawmill, or lumber mill here, and I realized I kind of hit a little problem. There wasn't enough space and enough flat area, and obviously I didn't want to massively change around the terrain too much, because I'd just done all this with the river. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've picked out another spot, still noisy down there, to over here instead, and that's worked out much better. We'll use this space for houses or something still, so it'll come in handy. Still thinking about putting a bridge over this right here, I think would be good. And I wanted to come over here and show you the outline to start with. I made it out of wool because it was just, you know, different to the environment, and I had a bunch of it, so it worked out kind of well in that regard. So I wanted to touch on a little topic here as well about shape today in Building with Fret, and how important shape is when designing different buildings, especially large buildings. Houses and things, you think of a square box, or you might do an L shape, or you might do a little tower off of the side. But when we start talking about larger things, like the starter house there, or this lumber mill here, I think one of the most interesting ways you can make your build really unique and stand out from many others, and kind of create something personal to you, is with your shape. And this applies no matter what version of Minecraft you're playing in. So this is going to be the main part of the sawmill here. This is where the saw's going to be. I've marked out a spot here for a water wheel. It's going to be a water-powered saw. I think that's something else that you can do that will help too. How exactly would your machinery be operated? Would it be water-powered? Would it be wind-powered? Would it be something else entirely? You know, for steampunk, you might come up with wind power, or maybe even something based off of an engine or something like that. And then I've added this little thing in here. This is actually going to be an overhang that you can walk through underneath here, and then across on the top. And then this is going to be a big sort of storage room on the side. I'm going to use this for bulk storage of my items. But even if I wasn't using it for that, it would be a cool decorative piece just to have on the side, and I think it adds a bit of balance so that, you know, there's big structures either side and something in the middle. But also, it creates this really interesting, like, H-like shape, which is a little bit different. I've not really seen too many sawmills done like this before. I will say, I did take inspiration from this really cool Minecraft build I saw. I will link it in the description. It was a very interesting time-lapse of a sawmill I saw done, and it kind of got the creative juices flowing a little bit for me, and it definitely helped. But I've changed significant things about it. The one in the time lapse did not have this on the side, for example. It was kind of a different layout. Yeah, so you could even go a step further than this, and you could add even more to it. Unfortunately, I'm going to be kind of limited by the the water here. I'm going to have to shape this land a little bit. But what we could do is, you know, is add an area of wood storage. I might do that this side off of this part of the build, you know, and add something even more just to further change up the shape. And what I think I'll do is probably pop into the creative world where I do my my builds for building with Fret here, and I'll explain a little bit more about what it is I mean. And for the world here, I'll try and maybe capture some video of this actually being constructed, but it's going to take a little bit of time to do, as you can imagine. So I'll see if I can do something with it, and then we'll talk about it when it's finished, okay? So here I am in the creative test world where I do a lot of my building for the Building with Fret series, and like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about the shape here of the build. You can actually see the build went through several different iterations as I worked towards the final design, and I wanted to touch a little bit on the shape of the build itself and what difference that can make. And we can do that a little bit easier here because I can kind of fly around it, which is not something you're able to do currently in the alpha version of the game, obviously. So here we've got that outline I showed before. This is the sawmill piece. This is where the logs are cut up into planks along this this bed here. And we have this this room in the middle, and then we've got the little storage area. We've got this on top, which adds a little bit more shape and interest to what is otherwise a pretty plain and flat roof. We've got the water wheel on the side there, which also adds more detail. Obviously here there's no water, but in the real build there will be water for that to go in. And you can just see, instead of just having this square shape with this on it, which would look pretty cool, we've done things with the shape. We've added things to make it more interesting. We've added a building on the side here. We've added this connecting piece in the middle. We've increased the height of the roof by adding a little mini tower to it. We've added a water wheel on the side. It's just these little details that could really make your builds that much better. One thing that I would encourage you to try and do is come into a creative world like this, lay out a shape, and then maybe add a piece to it or add multiple pieces to it. The way I started with this was, you know, the square shape, and I was like, okay, I'm going to add something on the side here. Now I'm going to add this box, and I just started with a literal, you know, squares on the ground, and then worked my way up into 3D shapes. You can also use inspiration and references for this. I've talked about references before and how they are invaluable when it comes to working on builds, and I definitely had inspiration from references here too. I mentioned earlier in the video that there is a time lapse I saw, and I'll link that in the description, which kind of got me thinking about this somewhat. And I have to say, I'm really pleased with this, and hopefully it will turn out just as good in the real world. But yeah, as far as shape goes, just a little tip for you is to think about your shapes and add multiple shapes together, and you can create some really interesting builds there. And there it is. Look at that. Our beautiful sawmill, lumber mill here. Very, very pleased with how it's turned out. I'm going to move this now. I was using this as a point of reference for the montage there, and I kind of ended up building over it. But there we go. So let me take you on a little bit of a tour here of what we've got in a little bit more detail. So eventually we're going to put a bridge over here. We've got a nice little staircase. This is where the wood would be carried and slid up onto this piece here. As you can see, we've got some logs there. This is supposed to be a saw, and it cuts it out into planks, and it'll run along here. And eventually we're going to build something down there where the wood gets dropped off. It'll then be carried around to a cart, probably around here, and then it'll be transported off to other places in the world. So this is the actual sawmill itself. There's also a little space up there. You can't get to it. It's just like a little storage cubby or whatever with the little piece on the top there. We've got this kind of transition room here. I could probably turn this into an office or something eventually. We'll probably add some detail to it. And then through here is going to be the bulk storage room. This is what it looks like right now. It does have a roof in it. An inner roof, that is. And we've got some space down here as well. So I'm feeling pretty good about all of this stuff that we have. This is the view from the outside. Now, this is far from being what I would call a finished project. There's a lot to do still. I want to kind of change some of the terrain around the outside. There's some details that I'd maybe like to add, like adding some details into that room there. You know, having a place for the logs to fall down onto, adding a cart, putting a road in, and all that type of stuff. But for now, we can enjoy the fact that we have a finished build here. And what I wanted to share with you in this segment is we're going to put together our bulk storage room, and I wanted to share with you how I'm going to do that. So I'm making a whole bunch of chests here, a lot of chests for this spot. We will start by making 32 will probably be enough for a bit. So let's make 32 chests. And what we're going to do, I'm going to put a chest in there, and a chest here, a chest there. And we're just going to kind of alternate them like this. For these edge pieces, we're going to need to do something like that. Now, we won't be able to put one in the top spot because yeah, I kind of want them all facing the same way. Because it will be blocked by the block above here. If we had a stair or a slab eventually, we could probably do something with that. But for now, this is as much as we are going to be able to do. So, man, I didn't really make this the most convenient, did I? There we go. Chest may just have a mind of its own and just flip directions anyway. It did. That one did too, I guess. And this is how we're going to organize my items here. And I've placed some blocks in the ground to indicate what's going to be in each of these bulk storage areas. I have a lot of cobblestone, so the cobble and stone related items will go in the middle. We've got a space for wood here, sand, gravel, and so on. And I think this will be really, really handy. This is only going to be a bulk storage area, though. This is not going to be a storage area for example, smaller amounts of individual items or, you know, items themselves, that type of thing, rarer blocks, tools, that type of stuff. All of that is going to be included in my main storage room, which is going to be in the cave area we've been working on. We will touch upon that probably in the next episode. That is likely when we're going to look into that. That's the only thing with this is I'm not probably going to get all of these back. I'll get some of them back, maybe. Here. Oop. So this is how we're going to do the storage. Now, don't you worry, I'm not going to include me moving all my storage over here. But all those chests and chests of cobble I have at the mob farm and things like that, I'm going to include in here, or move over here. I've got chests of cobble in the cave as well. I'm probably going to go out sand mining soon. We'll collect a bunch of sand. I'll move my bulk gravel and what little dirt I have over here. I don't have a lot of dirt, so... One other thing I thought about changing is maybe adding some workbenches in here as well. Just to kind of break things up a little bit, but also, you know, in case we want to do any crafting with any of the blocks in here. So I think we're going to do that as well. So, there we go. Yeah, I like that. So we've got a little bit of crafting in here too. I'm going to need a lot more chests. I used up all of my 32 chests on that. Is that really 32? 2, 5, 7, 10. Oh, I guess they're double chests, right? Right. That's why Wow, that's crazy. This is a lot of space then. This is going to be more than 64 chests in here. So hopefully this will keep us going for a good while indeed. You cannot stack chests, so I've got to do this alternating pattern, but I think it looks pretty good. And I like this visual indicator of what's in each thing, in each category here. I also need to work on this little spot. This is where I move my few little items. I'm going to add some rails to kind of tie down my wood here that's in the little storage area underneath the actual sawmill itself. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of this with chests, and I'm going to move the items over here, and then we'll figure out what is next. So I've emptied out a lot of the bulk supplies from my chests here. I also emptied out bulk supplies from the house as well into the storage room there. Started to get things organized. Thought I'd give you a little update on the grass spreading here. Still got a long way to go, but hopefully eventually that will spread all the way down there in a couple of weeks maybe. But I'm afraid that's all we have time for in this episode. Made some good progress today, though. I am very pleased with the sawmill there. Let me know what you think about it. And next episode, we are probably going to continue our storage-focused thinking. And we're going to put in a generalized storage room in the cave here. And I'm thinking we're going to put it right around here somewhere. And somehow connect it into the tree farm. So, hopefully you will look forward to that. And I will see you again in the next episode.